About the mysterious death of Shanquella Robinson, an American tourist in Mexico. Authorities there announcing an arrest warrant.
The Volusia County man died yesterday as the result of a surfing accident. But West 2's Michelle Meredith reports his friends want people to understand and embrace the way he lived.
Mexico beckons with its pristine beaches, ancient ruins, and vibrant culture, drawing over 40 million international visitors annually to its sun-drenched shores. The all-inclusive resorts of Cancun, the bohemian charm of Tulum, and the colonial streets of Mexico City promise unforgettable vacations. Yet beneath this picture-perfect tourism facade lies a darker reality that few travelers fully comprehend before booking their flights.
A desperate search for a local teacher missing in Mexico. Patrick Braxton Andrew went for a walk while on vacation more than a week ago.
Over recent years, a disturbing pattern of tourist tragedies has emerged, from cartel shootings at upscale restaurants to mysterious deaths in luxury hotels. These incidents, while statistically rare given the overall visitor numbers, paint a complex picture of a tourism paradise confronting serious security challenges. What happens when dream vacations turn into nightmares? The stories that follow reveal the unpredictable dangers that have claimed innocent lives in Mexico's most beloved destinations. The bohemian beach town of Tulum had long been considered a safer alternative to Cancun, a place where yoga retreats and eco-resorts attracted spiritual seekers and celebrities alike. On October 20th, 2021, that perception shattered in seconds when gunfire erupted at La Melquerida, a popular restaurant on Tulum's main tourist strip.
By the way, the shooting comes just 2 weeks after a California travel blogger and a German tourist were killed in a very similar shootout in the beach town of Tulum.
Among the diners that evening were Anjali Riot, an Indian-born travel influencer and software engineer based in California, and Jennifer Hensoldt, a German tourist. Neither woman had any connection to the drug trade. Both were simply enjoying dinner in what travel magazines had celebrated as one of the world's hottest destinations. When rival cartel members spotted a competing drug dealer in the restaurant, they opened fire without warning. In the chaos that followed, Riot and Hensoldt were killed. Innocent casualties caught in a territorial dispute over drug sales aimed at tourists. The shooting sent shockwaves through Tulum's expatriate community and tourism industry.
The gunman who opened fire at a popular Midtown restaurant will spend the next 40 years in prison. His name is Thaddeus Todd. He pleaded guilty yesterday.
Investigators later revealed that the gunman belonged to rival gangs fighting over lucrative plaza rights, the privilege to sell drugs in certain territories. As Tulum's popularity had skyrocketed, so had the value of controlling drug sales in its tourist areas. These people come to Tulum because they want to make easy money off tourists, explained a local business owner who requested anonymity. The tourists want to party, they want drugs, and the cartels follow the money. In the aftermath, Mexican authorities deployed 450 National Guard troops to patrol Tulum's beaches and restaurant district, a tacit acknowledgement that the situation had spiraled out of control. Hotel occupancy dropped dramatically as cancellations poured in. For weeks, restaurant tables sat empty along the once bustling beach road. Cancun Hotel Zone murders. The dazzling hotel zone of Cancun stretches across a narrow strip of land shaped like the number 7, with the Caribbean Sea on one side and the Nishupte Lagoon on the other. Lined with luxury, all-inclusive resorts, this engineered paradise was designed specifically for tourism, intentionally separated from the realities of everyday Mexican life. Yet even within this carefully controlled environment, tourists have met tragic ends that raise troubling questions about security and transparency. In April 2022, the case of Shanquella Robinson captured international headlines.
About the mysterious death of Shanquella Robinson, an American tourist in Mexico. Authorities there announcing an arrest warrant.
Robinson's father told us if it weren't for the disturbing videos that emerged.
The 25-year-old American arrived in Cancun with a group of friends for what should have been a celebratory vacation. Within 24 hours of their arrival at a luxury villa, Robinson was dead. Initially, her companions claimed she had died from alcohol poisoning, but a viral video later showed Robinson being brutally beaten by a member of her travel group. Mexican authorities eventually determined her cause of death was severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, medical terms indicating her neck had been broken. The case illustrated how even threats from fellow travelers can prove deadly in an environment where oversight is limited and emergency response systems operate differently than in tourist home countries. In another high-profile case, Christian and Jesse Mitmit, Canadian tourists, were found with their throats slit in their Cancun resort room in 2018. Security camera footage showed no unauthorized persons entering their room, deepening the mystery. Mexican authorities eventually concluded it was a murder-suicide, a finding the families vehemently disputed. The investigation was a joke, said Robert Mitmit, Christian's brother. They wanted to close the case quickly to protect tourism. My brother and his wife were planning their future the night before. These cases highlight a disturbing pattern. When tourists die in Mexico's hotel zones, investigations often appear rushed, with authorities sometimes seeming more concerned with protecting tourism than pursuing justice. Resort staff, local police, and even some embassy officials have been known to pressure families to accept official explanations.
If you can, anything you can do, step in and help us with justice. We need justice for Shanquella Robinson.
Or to quickly repatriate bodies without independent autopsies. The monarch butterfly conservationists. While cartel violence and tourist-targeted crime capture headlines, environmental defenders in Mexico face perhaps the deadliest risks of all. The tragic stories of Homero Gomez Gonzalez and Raul Hernandez Romero, both found murdered within days of each other in early 2020, reveal how conservation work intersects with criminal interests in Mexico's protected natural areas.
Of two people with links to a famous butterfly sanctuary. Both men were fighting to protect butterflies.
Gomez Gonzalez was the charismatic director of the El Rosario Butterfly Sanctuary in Michoacán state, where millions of monarch butterflies migrate annually in one of nature's most spectacular phenomena. A former logger turned conservationist, he had become the most visible protector of the forest that monarchs depend on for survival. His transformation was remarkable. Once having cut the very trees he came to defend, Gomez Gonzalez convinced many local residents that preserving the forest for butterfly tourism offered more sustainable income than logging. His Instagram videos celebrating the orange-winged insects made him something of a social media star. The butterflies are very intelligent, he would tell visitors. They're warning us of the damage we're doing to the environment and the necessity to change our ways. What made Gomez Gonzalez dangerous was his outspoken opposition to illegal logging operations, many linked to organized crime groups who had diversified from drugs into timber. On January 13, 2020, he disappeared after attending a meeting. His body was found 2 weeks later in a well, showing signs of torture. Though authorities initially suggested drowning as the cause of death, his family immediately suspected murder. Just days later, Raul Hernandez Romero, a tour guide at the same sanctuary, was also found dead with head trauma and knife wounds. The dual killing sent a chilling message to environmental defenders throughout Mexico. Michoacán state, while home to the breathtaking butterfly reserves that attract tourists from around the world, has long struggled with cartel violence. Criminal organizations have increasingly moved into illegal logging, mining, and avocado production, all activities that threaten protected forests. Xcaret Park, water pipe explosion. Xcaret Park, just south of Playa del Carmen, represents the pinnacle of Mexico's controlled tourism experience, a manicured ecological theme park where visitors can swim in underground rivers, view cultural performances, and experience a sanitized version of Mexican heritage. With its sister parks Zelja and Explore, the Xcaret complex has become one of the Riviera Maya's biggest tourism draws, advertised as both safe and authentic.
So what you do is you go to all the water rides basically in the morning time into the afternoon, and then you go to that afternoon buffet. We're going to show you guys what they have there.
But on March 5th, 2018, this illusion of perfect safety collapsed when a water filtration system exploded near the park's artificial underground river. The blast killed 11-year-old Canadian tourist Graham Hughes and injured 4 other visitors, including Hughes' younger brother. What began as a carefree family day exploring crystalline waters ended in unimaginable tragedy. One moment we were having the time of our lives, and the next there was chaos everywhere, recalled Sarah Evershed, a British tourist who witnessed the aftermath. People were screaming, running in all directions. The staff seemed completely unprepared for an emergency. Initial reports suggested the explosion resulted from methane gas buildup in the water filtration system, a preventable mechanical failure indicating inadequate maintenance and safety protocols. Park officials quickly attempted to control the narrative, issuing statements emphasizing the isolated nature of the incident and offering compensation to the victim's family. The Hughes family later filed a lawsuit alleging negligence in maintenance procedures and inadequate emergency response. Their legal representatives pointed to evidence suggesting previous problems with the filtration system had been reported but insufficiently addressed. The case raised uncomfortable questions about safety standards at Mexico's premier tourist attractions and the regulatory oversight they receive. Tourist safety isn't always the priority it should be, explained Mario Villanueva, a former safety inspector for Quintana Roo State. These parks are inspected, but the tourism industry is so economically important that there's tremendous pressure to overlook problems that might be more strictly addressed in places like the United States or Canada. In the aftermath, Xcaret implemented enhanced safety protocols and increased emergency response training. The park continues to welcome thousands of visitors daily, most unaware of the tragedy that occurred there. The incident illustrates a troubling reality for tourists in Mexico. Even in seemingly controlled environments designed specifically for visitor safety, maintenance standards and safety regulations may not match those expected in other countries. Puerto Vallarta kidnappings. Puerto Vallarta, nestled between the Sierra Madre Mountains and Banderas Bay, has long embodied the ideal Mexican beach vacation, colonial charm combined with modern resorts and spectacular sunsets. Its reputation as one of Mexico's safest major tourist destinations made the events of August 15, 2016 all the more shocking. Shortly after midnight, armed men stormed into the upscale La Leche restaurant in the hotel zone, separating staff from diners before abducting 6 men who were celebrating at a large table.
Reporting falsely on Puerto Vallarta, saying that all these officers got killed near Puerto Vallarta or in Puerto Vallarta. Both of them are false.
Security camera footage showed the victims being marched out at gunpoint and loaded into waiting SUVs. Among those taken was Jesus Alfredo Guzman, the son of notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Everything happened so fast, recalled a Canadian tourist dining at a nearby table who asked not to be identified. They came in with such precision, like they knew exactly who they were looking for. The rest of us were terrified but left alone. The incident exposed a reality that tourist brochures never mention, that representatives of major criminal organizations often vacation in the same luxury destinations as ordinary tourists. The abducted men were later released, suggesting an intercartel dispute rather than a threat to random visitors. Nevertheless, the brazen operation in the heart of a tourist district demonstrated how quickly cartel violence could intrude into supposedly safe vacation spaces. While this high-profile incident captured international headlines, smaller-scale kidnappings affecting tourists have occurred with disturbing frequency around Puerto Vallarta. In 2019, Maria Gonzalez, a Mexican-American visiting family, was abducted after withdrawing money from an ATM. Her captors held her for 3 days while extracting wire transfers from her family. Though she was eventually released, local authorities classified the case as an express kidnapping, a common enough occurrence to merit its own category. Express kidnappings are underreported because many victims are told not to contact police if they want to be released, explained security consultant Miguel Angel Rodriguez. Tourists are targeted because they're unfamiliar with their surroundings and often carrying cash. Puerto Vallarta's tourism officials have worked to distance the city from such incidents, emphasizing that violent crime rarely affects random visitors. Statistical evidence largely supports this claim, yet these cases reveal how quickly the boundary between tourist spaces and cartel operations can dissolve, particularly in nightlife districts after dark or in isolated areas outside main tourist zones. Cabo San Lucas, drownings. Cabo San Lucas, where the Pacific Ocean meets the Sea of Cortez at Mexico's southern Baja California peninsula, draws celebrities and ordinary tourists alike to its dramatic coastline. The iconic stone arch at Land's End appears on countless Instagram feeds and tourism brochures.
I feel very secure here and walk around by myself, and I don't have any issues.
All the people are really nice, and I felt really safe and happy.
Yet the beautiful beaches surrounding this destination hide deadly dangers that claim tourist lives with tragic regularity. In March 2022, American tourists Richard and Kim Carter were walking along Playa El Medano, Cabo's main beach, when they decided to wade into the gentle-looking surf. Within minutes, a powerful rip current pulled them seaward. Bystanders heard their cries and called for help, but by the time watercraft rescue arrived, Richard had disappeared beneath the waves. His body washed ashore 3 days later. The water looked so calm, Kim later told investigators. There were no warning signs, no flags, nothing to indicate danger. The Carters' experience wasn't an isolated incident. Between 2016 and 2022, at least 18 tourists drowned on Cabo beaches, with most deaths occurring on a handful of particularly dangerous stretches of coastline. The combination of strong rip currents, sudden drop-offs, and powerful shore breaks creates perfect conditions for tragedy.
The Volusia County man died yesterday as the result of a surfing accident. But West 2's Michelle Meredith reports his friends want people to understand and embrace the way he lived.
Especially for visitors unfamiliar with ocean dynamics. What makes these deaths particularly troubling is their preventability. Many of Cabo's most dangerous beaches lack adequate warning signage, especially in multiple languages. Lifeguard coverage remains spotty even at popular swimming areas, and some hotels minimize danger warnings to avoid frightening guests. There's reluctance to post prominent danger signs because it's bad for business, explained Roberto Sanchez, a former Cabo lifeguard. Hotels want their guests to enjoy the beach, not fear it. The problem extends beyond Cabo to many Mexican coastal destinations. In Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca's famous surfing beach, tourists regularly drown in the powerful shore break. Along the Riviera Maya, cenote drownings claim lives when inexperienced swimmers venture into unmarked, deep areas of these freshwater sinkholes. Some resorts and local governments have improved safety measures following publicized drownings. In Cabo, a coalition of hotel owners funded an expanded lifeguard program in 2020, while Puerto Escondido now requires tourists to watch a beach safety video before renting surfing equipment. The Copper Canyon hikers. Deep in Mexico's mountainous northwest, the Copper Canyon system carves through the Sierra Madre, a wilderness 6 times larger than Arizona's Grand Canyon. Its spectacular landscapes of pine forests, plunging cliffs, and indigenous Raramuri communities draw adventurous travelers seeking experiences far from standard tourist circuits. Yet this remote beauty conceals extraordinary dangers, as several tragic incidents involving hikers have demonstrated. In October 2019, Patrick Braxton Andrew, a 34-year-old Spanish teacher from North Carolina, set out for a solo hike near the town of Eureka in the canyon depths. When he failed to return to his hotel, a search ensued that ultimately revealed
a desperate search for a local teacher missing in Mexico. Patrick Braxton Andrew went for a walk while on vacation more than a week ago.
He had been murdered by Jose Noriel Gil Herrera, a local drug trafficker who reportedly mistook Braxton Andrew for a DEA agent. His body was found 2 months later, partially buried along a riverbank. Patrick was an experienced traveler who had researched the area and taken what he thought were appropriate precautions. His brother, Kerry Braxton Andrew, explained, but he couldn't have known the local criminal dynamics that made certain areas so dangerous.
That's when I started to panic. I know Patrick, and I know that he sticks to his plans. So this was completely out of character for him not be there waiting.
Braxton Andrews' death highlighted how even knowledgeable travelers can inadvertently venture into narco-controlled territories in Mexico's vast wilderness areas. The Copper Canyon region, with its remote valleys and minimal law enforcement presence, has long served as a marijuana and poppy cultivation zone for cartels supplying U.S. markets. Similar dangers confronted Australian tourists Dean Lucas and Adam Coleman in 2015 when they drove through Sinaloa State en route to the Copper Canyon. Their burned-out van was discovered near the town of Navolato, and their bodies were later identified inside. Investigators determined they had been stopped at a fake police checkpoint operated by local criminals, then robbed and murdered. These cases underscore a troubling reality. Mexico's most spectacular natural areas often overlap with territories where criminal organizations operate with impunity. Government presence in these remote regions can be minimal or compromised, leaving travelers without the security infrastructure that exists in established tourist zones. For indigenous communities living in these regions, violence has become an everyday reality. Isidro Baldenegro Lopez, a Raramuri environmental activist who opposed illegal logging in the Copper Canyon, was murdered in 2017 after returning to his home community from a period in hiding. Playa del Carmen club shootings. The beach town of Playa del Carmen, with its pedestrian-friendly Fifth Avenue and laid-back Caribbean atmosphere, has evolved from a sleepy fishing village into an international nightlife destination. Clubs like Cocobongo and Mandala attract thousands of revelers with pulsating music and flowing drinks. But beneath the carefree party atmosphere, these venues have repeatedly become scenes of horrific violence that has claimed tourist lives. On January 16, 2017, the BPM Electronic Music Festival was hosting its closing party at the Blue Parrot nightclub when gunmen opened fire on the crowd. When the shooting stopped, 5 people lay dead, including Kirk Wilson, a Canadian security guard, and Alejandra Villanueva Ibarra, an American teenager. 15 others suffered injuries in the panic that followed. Authorities later determined the massacre resulted from a territorial dispute between drug gangs competing for control of narcotics sales in Playa's lucrative club scene. We were dancing 1 minute and the next thing I knew I was on the ground with people running over me, recalled Sarah Turner, a British tourist who survived the attack. I remember thinking, this can't be happening in a tourist place like this. Barely a year later, on February 20, 2018, another shooting erupted at the Cocobongo nightclub, injuring 3 foreign tourists. Then in May 2019, armed men stormed La Cuca restaurant on Calle 10, a popular dining spot just off 5th Avenue, killing 1 person and wounding 11 others. The pattern suggested an escalating battle for control of Playa's nightlife districts, where tourists' demand for recreational drugs creates a lucrative market that cartels vie to dominate. The clubs where these shootings happen are specifically marketing to tourists who want to party, explained criminologist Alejandro Hope. Where there are tourists wanting drugs, there will be cartels fighting to supply them. Following these incidents, Playa del Carmen implemented increased security measures, including metal detectors at larger clubs and heightened police presence along 5th Avenue. Tourism officials worked to reframe the violence as targeted criminal activity rather than random terrorism, emphasizing that tourists who avoid drug purchases remain unlikely targets. Yet for visitors like Michael and Jennifer Schwartz from Dallas who were celebrating their anniversary at a nearby restaurant during the La Cuca shooting, such distinctions provided little comfort. We came to Mexico despite friends warning us, saying the dangers were exaggerated, Jennifer said. Then we found ourselves hiding under a table as people with guns ran past. It doesn't matter if they weren't targeting us specifically, we were still terrified. Mexico City tourist poisonings. Mexico City's renaissance as a tourism destination has been remarkable. Named by travel publications as one of the world's top cities to visit, celebrated for its museums, cuisine, and cultural vitality. The trendy neighborhoods of Roma and Condesa attract digital nomads and culinary tourists, while their historic center showcases the layered history of one of the America's oldest urban centers. Yet amid this cosmopolitan revival, a silent killer has claimed multiple tourist lives: methanol poisoning from adulterated alcohol. In May 2021, American tourist Julia Morgan died after consuming what she believed was standard tequila at a popular bar in the Condesa neighborhood. The 28-year-old photographer began experiencing blurred vision and severe stomach pain hours after returning to her Airbnb. By the time friends called emergency services, she had fallen unconscious. Hospital toxicology reports revealed lethal levels of methanol in her system. She was so excited about experiencing authentic Mexican culture, her mother told reporters. She never imagined that ordering a simple drink could kill her. Morgan's death fits a pattern seen throughout Mexico, where counterfeit alcohol or industrial methanol substituted for ethanol has caused numerous tourist fatalities. The problem extends beyond Mexico City to resort areas like Cancun, where in 2017, Abby Connor, a 20-year-old American, died after drinking tainted alcohol at a resort pool bar. Her brother nearly suffered the same fate but survived with brain damage. Methanol, which costs a fraction of ethanol to produce, causes metabolic acidosis when consumed, effectively poisoning the body's cells. Initial symptoms like dizziness and confusion are easily mistaken for ordinary intoxication, delaying crucial medical intervention. By the time more serious symptoms emerge, blindness, organ failure, respiratory arrest, irreversible damage has often occurred. What makes these poisonings particularly insidious is their preventability. Mexico's regulatory framework includes alcohol quality controls, but enforcement remains inconsistent. Unscrupulous bar owners or suppliers cut corners by diluting legitimate alcohol with industrial methanol or creating entirely counterfeit products with convincing packaging. The economics are straightforward, explained Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a toxicologist at Mexico City's General Hospital. A liter of industrial methanol costs about 20 pesos, while the same amount of ethanol for consumption might cost 10 times that. For establishments serving hundreds of drinks nightly, the temptation to substitute can be overwhelming. Tourist vulnerability to such poisonings is heightened by unfamiliarity with local products and reduced inhibitions while on vacation. Without the ability to distinguish legitimate products from counterfeits, visitors rely entirely on the integrity of establishments serving them. Dangers on public transportation. For travelers seeking authentic experiences beyond resort walls, Mexico's public transportation system offers an economical window into local life. From Mexico City's comprehensive metro to long-distance buses connecting colonial towns, these transportation networks carry millions of tourists annually. Yet for some unfortunate travelers, these journeys have ended in robbery, sexual assault, or even death. In December 2018, Guanajuato State, home to popular tourist destinations like San Miguel de Allende, became the setting for tragedy when Karina Harold, a 31-year-old Australian backpacker, boarded a regional bus heading toward the colonial city. When the bus stopped at a seemingly routine checkpoint outside Leon, armed men entered and began robbing passengers. Witnesses reported that Harold resisted when attackers attempted to take her camera equipment, resulting in a gunshot that proved fatal. She loved photography more than anything. Her partner later told Australian media, "That camera contained weeks of her Mexican journey. She wouldn't have understood the danger of resisting." Bus robberies represent a persistent risk in certain Mexican regions, particularly on secondary routes traveling through rural areas. Criminal groups sometimes target specific bus lines known to carry tourists or operate during hours when police presence is minimal. These aren't random events, explained security analyst Javier Oliva. Organized groups study routes and schedules. They know which buses might carry foreigners or wealthier Mexicans. Equally troubling are incidents involving official and unofficial taxis. In February 2020, 2 Canadian tourists hailed a taxi outside a restaurant in Puerto Vallarta. Instead of taking them to their hotel, the driver diverted to an isolated area where accomplices were waiting. The tourists were robbed, beaten, and abandoned on a dark road. Though they survived with minor injuries, their experience highlighted risks associated with hailing unauthorized taxis. Mexico City's metro system, despite carrying millions safely daily, has also witnessed sporadic violent incidents affecting tourists. In 2019, Brazilian visitor Paulo Henrique Machado was stabbed during a robbery attempt at Balderas Station when he resisted thieves attempting to take his phone. Mexican transportation authorities have implemented various security measures in response to these incidents. Many cities now operate secure taxi programs specifically for tourists, with designated pickup points at airports and major hotels. Apps like Uber have gained popularity precisely because they reduce risks associated with unauthorized taxis. On premium intercity bus lines like ETN and Primera Plus, security measures include passenger ID checks, security cameras, and GPS tracking.